The UFC seems to be in a fragile position right now. After its chief, Dana White, was caught on camera striking his wife at a New Year's event, the public has a lot to say about how domestic violence has become increasingly rampant and how there barely seems to be any punishment for it. What's worse is that some have deemed this as an opportunity to joke about the matter. Let's take a deeper look at the situation. First off, Henry Cejudo's insensitive reply to a fan's comment. Here's the thing, Cejudo isn't exactly the least problematic person in the first place. He's known for being a pretty controversial figure and has spent the last few years forming a brand new persona for himself, taking every chance to share his outrageous opinions to keep the spotlight on himself. In a recent Instagram post, Cejudo confirmed his plans to face Aljamain Sterling for the UFC Bantamweight Championship later this year. A fan commented under the post insinuating a fight between Cejudo and Dana's wife, Anne. The 35-year-old took up the offer immediately, replying with, "She could get it too," and that he was more than ready to fight her. There's a wide line between sharing your debatable opinions regarding other fighters and encouraging a problem that negatively affects so many lives daily. Cejudo may think it's all fun and games, but many people don't take too kindly to people who joke about this topic. Has he finally outplayed his luck and crossed the line? We'll have to wait and see. Next up, Sean O'Malley and Oscar De La Hoya weigh in on the incident. Henry Cejudo isn't the only one taking this situation lightly. While speaking on the O'Malley podcast alongside his brother Daniel O'Malley, he jokingly referenced the incident, saying that it was a tricky situation. White's wife slapped him, and it made sense for her to get hit back. Equal rights, equal fights, right? And then there's Oscar De La Hoya, who slammed White for hitting his wife during their encounter. The two have had beef for a long time, and Hoya seized the opportunity to criticize his old nemesis through a tweet, mocking his new power slap league in the process. Others, such as Daniel Cormier, actors Jamie Foxx and D.L. Hewley, and former NBA player Jay Williams are among those who have had zero tolerance for White's actions and have also spoken up against the lack of response and comments from the authorities. Although White says that the hit on his reputation and respect he's lost from his acquaintances and colleagues is punishment enough for him, it's nowhere near what he should be facing. But then again, the UFC has a reputation of ignoring instances of domestic abuse until they eventually die down, and if it's the president we're talking about, it's pretty clear they intend on riding out the situation in silence for as long as they can. Moving on, White's apology and self-proclaimed punishment. The leaked footage shows the two getting into a heated argument where White is seen grabbing his wife's hand before she aimed a slap at him. In retaliation, he slaps her twice before the couple is separated by the people watching the situation unfold. After this altercation went viral, the 53-year-old took to TMZ to issue an apology, saying that he was embarrassed to even be caught up in a situation like this, especially since he's one of those guys who always advocates against domestic violence. The incident left a lot of people calling for Dana to step down from his position at the UFC, but it's not that simple. In situations like these, the media plays a big role in picking and choosing who gets to face the consequences and who doesn't. And considering that White is a very influential person in the MMA industry, it's likely he won't face any major repercussions. Major letdown. He took to the stage to address his recent scandal during the UFC Vegas 67 Media Day. According to him, his punishment is that he'll be branded as a wife beater for the rest of his life, and that suspending him wouldn't really be as much of a punishment for him as it would be to the UFC, the Endeavor stockholders, and the fighters relying on him to promote the sport. Next up, how has the public reacted? Dana White himself has made it very clear that what he did cannot be justified, and he doesn't plan on making any excuses for his actions, but that won't stop the MMA sphere from doing it for him. Ever since TMZ released the video of Dana White and his wife, fellow fighters and the media haven't hesitated in giving out possible justifications as to why White did it. Reddit users, however, took it upon themselves to debate whether it was okay for men to hit women at all. The most common stance defending him? That Anne provoked him by hitting him first, but if we're talking about White taking accountability, it contradicts the very thing he had spoken up against. There's never ever an excuse for a man to hit a woman, while some continued blaming Anne for taking the first step, which triggered Dana, saying that if she didn't want him to get physical, she shouldn't have hit him in the first place. Others blamed the alcohol for playing its part in elevating the situation. One thing's for sure though, while Dana hasn't tried to conjure up some excuse as to why he hit his wife, there are plenty of people out there, toxic MMA fans and misogynists alike, who would find any opportunity to do so. Lastly, things seem to get worse for Dana. It seems like karma's gonna come for him before the UFC does. White's latest stunt and the media coverage of the story has led fans to dig up an old interview interview with his mother in 2011, in which she confirmed his violent tendencies. When addressing a previous conflict with his wife, she said that he'd gone overboard and specified how badly Dana treats women in general. It's concerning to think how problematic he may be if his own mother doesn't consider him a good person. Anne, who's been married to White for 26 years, later spoke about the situation, saying that it was extremely out of character for him to act that way and that he'd never behaved that way before. She also said that the alcohol fueled a lot of their actions and asked the public to respect their family's privacy. To anyone who has the slightest bit of intuition, the statement released by his wife doesn't sound entirely genuine. How does one suddenly act out after never displaying this sort of behavior for 26 years? According to popular opinion, White's only apologizing because he got caught in the act, but no one really knows what goes on behind closed doors. Moving on, UFC President Dana White shares Power Slap League promo video days after striking his wife. First off, Dana White gets slammed for promoting Power Slap League amid his scandal. It's been less than 14 days after the UFC boss was caught on tape striking his wife, but it seems like Dana doesn't really care much about the wife beater brand he claims to have been burdened with and has already moved on. He shared a video on social media to promote his new Slap Fighting League, whose debut was delayed by a week from January 11th to the 18th as punishment for his altercation. So far, this has been the only consequence White has faced. Another considerably mild punishment that was suggested was that White should step away from the UFC for a month, which won't really make a difference at all since he already spends months away at a time without anyone noticing. The response to the tweet has been blowing up, with fans ridiculing White and mocking his new league and his actions alike, while some Twitter users commented it was too soon for him to be thinking of promoting his prospects. Others said they don't see the logic behind its creation and don't understand why anyone would waste their time watching or participating in it. Some even wittingly referred to the incident, saying that it seems like Dana has had enough practice for the new season. Well, yikes. Moving on, how is a one-week debut delay the only punishment White has gotten? Dana has been the president of the UFC since 2001 and has become the driving force behind making it one of the most popular sports in the world. Several athletes, including big names like Thiago Silva and John Jones and more, have all either been accused of or convicted of various domestic violence charges. And even though most of them were cut from the UFC, some were welcomed back sooner or later once the news blew over. It isn't the first time they've ignored alarming, abusive behavior from their players. You'd think the response would be different if the literal president dropped to the same level, right? Well, UFC's major shareholder, Endeavor, has decided to maintain complete silence during this fiasco, further proving that they have no intentions of holding the UFC president accountable. Some have even called for his Power Slap League to be completely suspended, but considering Dana's position of power, his privilege may completely shield him from facing any consequences. Lastly, Dana has the power to make a real impact, but will he? Another domestic abuse case isn't exactly a surprise, but Dana's case is different. This addresses a larger issue of how people in higher positions don't have to pay for their actions, and the same rules and consequences don't apply to them. This turns into a problem for people who aren't afforded the same privileges. If Dana really accepts the fact that he's in the wrong and is urging people not to defend him, then what's stopping him from actually making a change? After all, he has the power to really turn things around, starting with implementing a no-tolerance policy in the UFC. If he's really regretful of his actions, he can easily use this opportunity to address the long-standing issue of domestic violence that plagues thousands of households in America. For now, it seems like Dana's money and power are doing their job cushioning him from the harsh remarks and suggestions of the public. But how long until these people are held to the same standard as the average person? That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Dana should step down from the UFC? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.